Question number 2, Pesata Sam Lotuinga.
Thank you, Mr Speaker. My question is to the Minister of Finance. What reports has he received on economic imbalances inherited by this government?
The Honourable Bill English.
Mr Speaker, I've seen a statement from the Fitch Ratings Agency saying New Zealand's economy is burdened with severe imbalances, as indicated by a persistently large current account deficit and now growing public debt. The deficit ballooned under the previous government's decade of economic mismanagement. Labor campaigned on the idea that the current account deficit was too big when it was 5% of GDP. By the time they had left office, it had almost doubled. The government is addressing these imbalances by implementing policies that promote exports and investment over borrowing and consumption, which have been the pillars of economic management for the last 10 years.
Pesata Sam Lotuinga.
Supplementary question, Mr Speaker, to the Honourable Minister. Has he seen any reports in the last week arguing for large increases in government spending?
The Honourable Bill English.
Well, Mr Speaker, despite the warning from a number of ratings agencies that out-of-control government spending could lead to a downgrade in New Zealand's credit rating, I've seen reports from the Leader of the Opposition who yesterday proposed that everyone should get the dole regardless of their family income, and then today is reported as backtracking on his call for the dole. When asked if it meant everyone should be entitled to the unemployment benefit, no matter how wealthy his or her partner, he said, no, that's not true, which directly contradicted what he said yesterday.
Pesata Sam Lotuinga.
Supplementary question, Mr Speaker. What are the implications of Mr Goff's proposal to expand the welfare system?
Order. I think the member might rephrase that question, because the Honourable Minister has no responsibility for the background of the proposal. He can only comment on reports he has in that regard.
No, the council meeting now,
To the Minister, what are the implications of the report that the Minister heard of Mr Goff's proposal to expand the welfare system?
The Honourable Bill English.
Well, Mr Speaker, it's pretty hard to work out the implications, because yesterday Mr Goff promised that anyone who lost their job under Labor would get the dole regardless of their spouse's income. Today he has backtracked on it, so we're not sure whether he's for it or against it, and we suspect that he isn't sure either, because he's trying to satisfy two contradictory factions in his caucus.
The Hon David Cunliffe.
Mr Speaker, despite the historically low debt, low unemployment and higher growth inherited from the previous Labor government, when will he stop whining about the economy inherited and start formulating some new ideas and a real plan to lift New Zealanders' incomes, or is he happy to hide behind the skirts of the Secretary of the Treasury and the Governor of the Reserve Bank?
The Honourable Bill English.
Mr Speaker, the only whining is coming from the Labor Party, who have yet to understand just how bad the effects have been of their decade of economic mismanagement. The fact is that this, for instance, in this once proud exporting nation, in the last 5 years we have seen exports in recession. In fact, the tradable part of this economy shrunk in the last 5 years, while the non-tradable part of it grew by 20%.
The Honourable David Cunliffe.
Speaker, in light of Fitch's downgrading of New Zealand's credit rating watch and Alan Bollard's criticism of the lack of saving in New Zealand last week, does he now realise that cancelling the R&D tax credit, cutting KiwiSaver contributions and cutting or suspending contributions to the super fund undermines New Zealand's performance, or does he think that the timing of Fitch's downgrade was purely a coincidence after John Key's speech?
The Honourable Bill English.
Mr Speaker, I think, as the Prime Minister pointed out, that continuation of the previous policies of encouraging borrowing, overconsumption and reckless government spending would certainly have led to a downgrade by every ratings agency.